All right, welcome back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill.
I'm Kyle Hunter.
And today we have a special guest, Mr. Raphael Esparza from Doc Sports and MyBookie.com to break down this huge Sunday Sweet 16 slate of games. You can follow Raphael on Twitter at VSI Doc Sports. How's the madness treating you, Raphael?
It's doing good. It's I've been telling people it's funny how we didn't have a March Madness last year. It starts this year on a weird schedule where there's only 4 games on the Thursday when there's normally, 16 on Thursday, 16 on Friday, and stuff like that. So it was just a weird setup. The handle was there, but I've talked to numerous Vegas books, offshore books, and stuff like that. The tickets written were down dramatically. And that just tells you right there that, people are not spending the money they maybe would have 2 years before the pandemic. Maybe they didn't get their stimmy money yet. But tickets written was down dramatically. And the bigger bets, I didn't see the 6-figure type bets I normally would see due to pandemic. So it was weird. The money was there, but not as much as normal. And just talking to Vegas, they said Phoenix and California really didn't hit the Vegas Strip that much. When you saw the videos of Circa and all that, yeah, there were crowds, but I have seen March Madness crowds, and it wasn't even a fart in the wind compared to those crowds that they were showing.
Oh my God! Probably almost a better thing for some people that are enjoying themselves. But as far as the casinos bringing in revenue and handle, yeah, that must be a lot tougher. So I was just mentioning before that the Sweet 16 is a little bit calmer usually coming in. I think we just missed it. I think the virus is going away for the most part. People are getting vaccinated. We're at the point where, man, if March Madness was only June Madness or May Madness or something, maybe it'd be a lot more people, coming in and hopefully a lot more safety, right?
I agree on that.
So, we think that we're talking about the Sweet 16, but we're really going to talk about what you mentioned before, and that's Godzilla versus King Kong odds that you are putting out on MyBookie.com. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about what you do for MyBookie?
Yeah, I'm sweating that. Everyone's saying, "Oh, what are you doing this week?" I'm sweating March 31st when Kong and Godzilla comes out, because I had a betting prop at who wins the final fight at the end, and got ton of Godzilla money, which I have no idea why people were betting Godzilla like there was no tomorrow. They were betting him like Steve Miocic was going to crush Nagu this week, and that's how much money we were getting on Godzilla. But yeah, I do all their entertainment prop bets over at MyBookie, political. Anything crazy and stuff that you can't believe we put odds on is usually comes from my head. So it's fun times. Like I tell people I really get to do odds making, not like anybody could do a football game or be the first one out and people copy, move it a half a point, move it down a point, injury, blah, blah, blah. But doing odds like this, really you have to do a lot of research, do a lot of reading when it comes to political entertainment. Make sure you get that two-way action and stuff like that. So I enjoy the investigating part of what I do, not just, Monday Night Football, Bears, Packers. Okay, Packers -7, total 46. I'm done. What do I got to do for the rest of the day? So I enjoy the research part of the stuff that I actually do.
Right, and I think that makes you a much better, selling picks and stuff on Doc Sports and giving people winners. Just all the research put in, it kind of feeds in from what you know into the service you provide for your customers.
Yeah, and I try not to go into people's betting systems and see what the public's actually doing, because I used to do when I used to tell people when I worked at MGM. I was the closing supervisor and stuff like that. Every time I would walk out on Saturday, I would just see what the top bets for NFL Sunday were, and I would just fade all the public money and have a fantastic Sunday as you just fade the public.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're all used to that. And it's funny. They used to move lines a little bit stronger, but this year they didn't move them as much. So it can scratch my head. I think the candle is down a little bit. So I think that fades into it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how you mentioned that about how the numbers didn't move as much during football, even during the March Madness. And that just tells you right there that the money's not coming in like it used to, where you can guarantee a six-figure here or a six-figure there, Monday Night Football. Of course, you would have the Super Bowl but had big ones. But even the Super Bowl didn't even have that many $1 million bets like we normally see. So it just tells you what. Last time I checked, if I wanted to get a hamburger, I still had to put a mask on. So we're still in a pandemic. So
yeah, pretty much. And so you'll be putting some more props out. If you guys haven't checked it out, mybookie.com is a great place to find all kinds of crazy props Raphael puts out there. I actually got a little bit of investment into his latest one with the scoring, which total is going to go the highest. And I'll tell you, I took Villanova Baylor and I took Creighton Gonzaga, and one was plus 300 and one was plus 450. Now you only gave me a $25 limit, which I'm upset about, but oh well.
I don't do the limits. I just do the odds. That's not my part of the job.
Oh, it's great stuff, man. But it's so fun to see some of those odds. You have odds on TV shows and things like that. So it makes my bookie that much more of an exciting place to go. So thank you for that, Raphael. So let's get right into the games then, guys. We have a big Sunday slate. Florida State versus Michigan, and now this is 2.5. I have to race this 3 that I wrote like yesterday. It's 2.5. The total's around the 144 range, and maybe that's moved a little bit too. Kyle, why don't you get started on that one?
Yeah, so I was hoping this line would be bigger because I want to take Florida State at the 3.5 or 4 points. Obviously, the fact that the Big Ten played so poorly early in the NCAA tournament has a role in this. And let's be honest, Michigan was behind much of the game against LSU. So they didn't exactly look tremendous in that game, even though they did end up winning. I still think this is a pretty good matchup for Florida State. Florida State is the tallest team in the country. Florida State ranks in the 95th percentile defending inside 5 feet of the basket. So this is strength on strength. Michigan's good down low. Hunter Dickinson, we know that. Koprivica for Florida State. Gonna be a better matchup for him than what he's used to being up against. I think without Livers, Michigan's upside is at least somewhat limited. Florida State, excellent on defense in the last month and top 12 in the country. I think their year-to-date stats don't give them enough credit for how good they've been defensively. Leonard Hamilton's teams usually get better at the end of the year. And like I said, their length, even on the perimeter, can give people some trouble. So I think Florida State, the one thing that they're really vulnerable against is teams who force turnovers. Michigan is 336th in the country, I believe, and when it comes to 337th in forced turnover percentage on defense. So Florida State is going to have trouble with someone. We saw that against Georgia Tech, where they turned the ball over nonstop. But Michigan's usually not that team. You know, LSU did a great job taking care of the basketball. I think Florida State can hold their own in this game. And as far as the total, I kind of lean to the under. I wish the number was a little bit higher here. This one did get bet down. I think both of these teams are pretty good defensively. Both of them can go through some droughts on offense. I like Florida State in this one, and I think Florida State has a decent chance to win this one outright.
Raphael, any thoughts?
I'm with him. I like Florida State, and I think if you like Florida State, grab the 2.5 now because that's not going to be there probably by tip-off. This one will probably be a solid 2 by tip-off just because the money's coming in on Florida State. And I think the money's coming in because Joe Public thinks, last time I checked, Michigan plays in the Big Ten. Last time I checked, the Big Ten laid a big goose egg during the tournament. So I think a lot of that is some sharp money, but Joe Public's all over this just because I think of just you said how disappointing the whole Big Ten was. And I just think Florida State, they had a hiccup all season long on the road, but they finally figured out how to win some road games, try to control the boards early. You mentioned their length. If they can control the boards against Michigan, I think it's going to be lights out on the Wolverines probably in the second half because Michigan, they're missing a lot of their big rebounders and stuff like that. So Florida State controls the boards, they control the game, and I think they passed them. But again, make sure you get that 2.5 because I can guarantee you that 2.5 won't be the right tip-off. If this game was maybe an early game, I think it might, but I think people will bet that game, probably cash tickets on the Zags, and probably jump all over Florida State. I was hoping this one, I agree, stayed around the 3.5, but that was just wishful thinking, and I sat on my ass and then didn't bet it, so I'm sure Florida State wins by 100, and I have zero money in my wallet.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we're on the same side, and we're all on the public side, so whoa. Sometimes the public wins. I mean, almost 50% of the time, you got to know that. But the reason I have Florida State is the same reasons how I filled them out in the brackets. The fact that Michigan lost 3 of their last 5 games coming into the tournament here. I guess that's including the Big Ten tournament, but still, it's not a good finish. The Isaiah Livers injury, That's their leader, man. That's their senior leader, and he makes some very big buckets with them throughout the year. Now he'll still be rooting for them on the bench. And the number one thing for me was Hunter Dickinson and Franz Wagner are such great low guys. They get to the rim well, but it's going to be a lot harder doing it against the tallest team in all of the NCAA, right? I mean, them and USC, pretty sure they're number one and number two here if you look at average height. So I guess the thing that gives me pause is Michigan as a dog. It worries me a little bit. And if Michigan's on and they're dropping threes and Florida State's getting sloppy and desperate like you saw against Georgia Tech, that would worry me a little bit. So I like Leonard Hamilton at 7-2 against the spread as a dog. 5 outright wins. I think that's fantastic stat for Leonard Hamilton. He ends up but he never gets to the Final Four. There's always in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, he seems to crap out. So I am a little bit concerned that we're on the same side, but at the same time, this was my handicap coming in, so I can't disagree with you guys.
So the listeners should just bet Michigan all day long. Then, if all three of us are right.
There you go. Right? Yeah. Pound Michigan. If this gets to a 1.5, I might consider a buyback. I did get a solid 3, but I got it early.
Oh, look at you! I got the 3.
Oh, I'm bragging about it, right? Yeah, this one. I didn't give it. I gave it out at -115 though, so I did count it as -115. Just so you know, Raphael. But let's get into another game, and this is another side that I'm probably on the public as well, because Creighton's playing Gonzaga here, and the Zags are about 13.5 point favorites. You would think that Creighton is Oral Roberts, right? But no, they're just another great Power 5 team that's facing Gonzaga. And oh man, 158.5 is what I wrote down as a total. And I'll start here. There's nothing bad about Gonzaga. They're the most efficient team I've seen since the 2017 Villanova Wildcats, and maybe they're more efficient than them. The knock is always their schedule, but look at what they did in the non-conference. They're beating Power 5 teams the same way. One thing I do know is that Creighton is better than most of the teams that Gonzaga's faced, except Iowa, I guess, but Gonzaga took care of Iowa, and that was early in the season too by double digits. I'm looking at the total here, and I'm not afraid to take high overs, especially when it makes sense to me. I don't see how Gonzaga doesn't score 90-plus points here, and it's because they play at the second fastest rate in seconds per possession, and Creighton plays at the 42nd fastest rate. When you look at Gonzaga games, they're statistically final with about 5 minutes left. Well, in these WCC teams. So they could have put up a lot more points than what they're averaging. But, at the same time, Creighton's played in this arena before at Hinkle. I mean, it's a Big East arena, right? Butler play there. So they're kind of used to that here. So I have Gonzaga winning this game 91-76, which goes pretty well over the 158. But I would be shocked if both teams, Creighton gets into the 80s and Gonzaga gets well into the 90s here. And I also like a team total on Gonzaga when that comes out. And Raphael is going to be nice and give it to us at -110, right, Raphael? Is that what you're going to do?
I'll see if I can make that phone call. I got to do I didn't do any prop bets this week for Sweet 16. They got me doing some crazy stuff. So I'll see if I can. I'll shoot a text out to the other head maker.
All right. Make sure you release that to us before anybody else, and we'll thank you for that.
Checks in the mail.
But that's how I'm playing this game. It sounds public, but I took it at 158. Probably for like 3 stars. Any thoughts on that, Raphael?
I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, the way they played against Oklahoma and Suggs having a mediocre game. I mean, he was 5 for 13. I know he still had 16 points. Most of that was from the free throw line. But he had just a mediocre game, and they still won by double digits. I mean, anytime Timmy is on his roll, there's no one going to stop them. I agree with you on Gonzaga. I would not be shocked if they hit the century mark against Creighton. I mean, the only thing that scares me is the way Creighton played offense against Georgetown when they put up 48 points. It was like my test scores in high school, what they can do. So that's the only thing that scares me on the total. But they're just a well-oiled machine. They have 6 guys that can take over a game and push you over the total, over the win. They're just unbelievable. And I wanted to see Gonzaga, Illinois final, but let's face it. Let's see 1 and 2. Baylor and Gonzaga were 1 and 2 pretty much all season long. Let's just see them because I'm just so impressed. And you said that they played mediocre teams, San Francisco, St. Mary's, Pacific, all those teams. But to how they took care of business when they were down in BYU a couple of weeks ago, when BYU was shooting 70% and they still came back and won by double digits. That impressed me before the tournament started, and then how they handled Oklahoma last week. They're just a well-oiled machine.
And look at Pepperdine winning the CBI. So you got that too. Kyle, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I want to go against it. We need some disagreement here in one of these, right? So, but I can't take Creighton. I can't take the under. Certainly don't want the under with the way that these two teams can score that quickly. You know, it's hard to bet over this high of a number, guys, in a neutral court game. So I don't love betting this high of a number over on a neutral court, but there's no way I could bet the under in this game. Thinking about Creighton and Gonzaga matchup is Creighton is a pretty short team. They're 18th percentile in their power forwards and centers height. Gonzaga has been outscoring teams in the paint in a big way. 19.8 points per game, outscoring opponents in the paint alone. That's first in the country by a pretty wide margin. I think they probably score quite a bit in the paint in this one as well. You know, how does Creighton only shoot 64% from the free throw line? That one surprises me. You know, a team that can shoot that well from the outside, they should be better shooting from the free throw line. I think I like a Gonzaga team total over better than I like a full game over, because it would surprise me quite a bit if Gonzaga can't score a lot of points in this game. Like Raphael said, there are some ways that Creighton wouldn't score as many here because they've shown that they've done that from time to time before. So I want to take the points. I can't do it. And usually I'd like to bet an under with this high of a total, but I don't like that. I like Gonzaga team total over the best here.
All right. Well, look at this. Mostly agreement, and the team total looks live. Let's move on to the next one here. Oregon versus USC. USC is -2.5-ish. Total is 139.5. Why don't you bring it back to us, Kyle?
So this is a great matchup. You know, you got Andy Enfield, who I believe is 9-0 against the spread in the NCAA tournament at this point, and Dana Altman, who's 15-5-1 against the spread in his last 21 in the NCAA tournament. Really good coaching matchup. You know, I think overall I would say Dana Altman's the better coach between these two, but Enfield has been really good in the NCAA tournament. So a lot of people are pointing back toward the game that they played before. You know, I know USC won that game easily. Oregon had some COVID pauses, some injuries. They weren't playing their best basketball at that point, but Altman's teams do really well at the end of the season. I don't want to lay the points here against Altman's team. At the same time, I think USC has a high enough upside that I'm not excited to bet Oregon plus the points either. I saw this one earlier in the week at 2.5. Was kind of hoping I could get that 3, and then I would have probably taken Oregon here because I do think this will be a really close game. I think I like the under the best in this game because, you know, Oregon and USC both very good defensively. Altman can really throw that matchup zone, use the zone press to kind of slow the game down. USC's defense is underrated. I mean, they're tremendous. 2-point defense is first in the country. I think it's going to be hard for Oregon. I mean, people saw what they did against Iowa. Iowa and USC are completely different teams. Oregon could have put up 100 points in that game. I mean, would they have 56 at halftime? Something like that. So they could have scored more than they did. That's not going to happen in a game like this. They'd have to just be making everything to score a lot on USC from the outside. I think I like the under the best here. I'm going to give the slightest of leans to Oregon just because they're getting the points, and I think this will be an extremely close game.
All right. So this game, I keep scratching my head on it, and I have no plays on it right now. Just like Kyle said, these coaches are amazing ATS. I mean, hard to fade either one of them here. Oregon shot very well versus Iowa, 63% from 2 and 44% from 3. And my question is, how is Dana Altman going to send his squadron into battle here against USC? Because they faced them before and got blown out. They kind of got caught up playing a slower game, but maybe the faster game is better for Oregon in this situation here. Just take it to USC, flail yourself in the paint and try to get some fouls, because those officials won't be shy in most cases in the NCAA tournament here. USC only ranks 160th against the 3. That worries me a lot. They allow 33.6% to go in just on average, when Oregon ranks 18th in 3-point percentage, 37.9%, and they always didn't have all their guys this year. So that worries me a lot for USC, and my future ticket I have we already discussed was unhedgeable in the previous show. So, I mean, just the numbers I have, USC 70 to 67.5, but I can see how it would go over if Oregon just tries to, lay the hammer like they did with Iowa and just play fast. And I can see how it goes under too, if USC just packs the defense in a pack line style and, stops Oregon and Oregon goes cold. Maybe Oregon's a regression candidate going from super high percentage to down low. Pretty lucky for Oregon to get VCU out of there too, going right to Iowa. And it's sad for VCU that they're the only team to miss the tournament. But hey, if you would tell me by the Sweet 16 that only one team was going to have COVID issues, then I would say that's a success. Raphael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad that VCU. I'm glad. I was saying that they played, but everyone bet I had that prop at Wall. A team had to forfeit an NCAA game in the tournament, and everybody bet no, ain't gonna happen. So VCU, thank you, but hopefully everyone's okay. I heard it was mostly due to tracing, not because the kids were sick. It was mostly due to tracing. But in this game right here, ever since I started doing odds for global books and all that, I have to live in an East Coast world. And you guys all know that no one gives a rat's ass about West Coast basketball, West Coast football, West Coast nothing. So to see a matchup of Oregon and USC, I just want to give the double birds to everybody when I get to sit back on the late game on Sunday and watch West Coast basketball. I think it's a win for West Coast, period. But in this right here, this matchup right here, I want to say I'm a twin, so I want to root for the brothers, the Mobley brothers. I mean, me and my brother were talking about, wouldn't that be cool if we got to play college ball together and stuff like that? I'm like, no, you're too fat and old right now. You won't be able to do it. But I agree with you on this one. I think the way USC covers the 3-ball, it's going to be scary. Oregon, you know what Oregon's got to do those last couple of weeks? They've got to practice. I mean, they've had COVID issues. They haven't had team full practices in a very long time, just like Baylor. Look what Baylor's doing now in the tournament, now that they get to practice. This Duck team, I'm glad it's to 8:45 because we could see maybe 2.5, maybe 3 just because of the USC love and Mobley and all that. I don't think so, but I agree. I kind of lean towards Oregon this one, and I'm glad the public will probably bet this under because if Oregon wins, this game goes over. So I kind of like the over, and I can't believe my cat learned how to open up a door. So I heard her jumping up, and she actually clicked the handle, and now she's walking, and now he's walking around. So this is Harry Carey. So that's he learns how to open the door. So.
Well, holy cow! Does your cat have a pick for us or not?
Harry, who do you like? Oregon, USC. Nothing.
How tall are you, Raphael?
I am 6'4".
Yeah, I knew you were tall. It's like you're probably like one of those things. Should we have played basketball? Well, maybe back then Michigan didn't offer you enough money to come in to join
I played with Glenn Robinson in my AAU team up in Indiana, and he was actually I played against him when I had my heart attack on the basketball court. So. I retired very early in sports. I was the first one. Everyone copied me. Hank Gathers. They all copied me. I was the first one to have a heart attack on the basketball court.
Well, thank God for us and my bookie that you're still here, my man. So I didn't know about that part of it, but I
actually got to meet Hank Gathers, so that's why March is always special to me. I actually got to meet him during his 4th, I think, doctor visit. He was just trying to find doctors all over the world to try to play again. So I was actually getting an EKG test on the 3rd floor, and he was downstairs, and my doctor's like, "Hey, you want to meet Hank Gathers?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude!" So I met him. So when he died, that really hit me hard. So rest in peace,
man, R.I.P. my man. Well, good stuff. Let's see here, and what do we have? I think we have one more game left. and it's
Yeah,
another
UCLA and Bama.
another Pac-12 game for Raphael.
West Coast.
And at least you're going to get an Elite Eight team for sure in the Pac-12, right? So, and we can, and I'm West Coast now, so we can own Gonzaga as West Coast, of course. So
they're gonna be the Duke of the West Coast pretty soon.
They are the Duke of the West Coast, man. Smarter though, smarter.
Yes.
So let's move into this last game. UCLA versus Bama. Bama's laying about 6.5. Total is 145. And I was talking to David Behrman on the podcast yesterday. Florida won both the national championship in football and in basketball, and he doesn't want to see Bama do it and share that mantle with Florida. But as a Big Ten fan, I'm like, what the hell? What's going to stop this Alabama team? What are they doing to us, man? I mean, now they're good at basketball. Oh, what a great hire was NATO for them. And it's just working out fantastic. They're 6.5 points over a historic UCLA team here, who's actually been playing a little bit out of their minds here. But my question is, what would this spread have been 1 week ago today, right? I mean, they should have lost to Michigan State. Michigan State is not a good team this year. They got a pretty easy road against an overrated BYU team and an Abilene Christian team that just embarrassed Texas this year. And so my thoughts are Alabama's going to get some more money than just mine. So I think that tells you pretty much enough. I think the fact that they play at such a fast pace gives them a chance to get more margin in this game. I'll start with you, Kyle. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm a little bit burned by Alabama because I took that under in the Alabama and Maryland game last game, and I always wear my losses. That was I had a good start to the NCAA tournament, but man, Alabama was making everything in that game. The tempo wasn't even very fast. It was one of their slowest games of the year, but they just piled on the points because they're shooting the three so well. The thing about Alabama games is there's a lot of variance because they take so many threes. If they're shooting well from 3-point range, they're going to beat anybody. If they're shooting poorly from 3-point range, you could have some really low-scoring close games because they are really good at defense. So the thing about this one is I don't trust UCLA. I still don't think UCLA is really that good of a team. And you spoke about the fact that they played Abilene Christian. Abilene upset Texas, and how could they not have a letdown in that next game? Because they just beat Big Brother and the state. I guess they forced Shaka Smart to go up to Marquette at this point, right? So, I mean, you have to think that that's what forced that move. So Abilene Christian picks up that big win. And then they come out and go, 10 minutes or so without scoring a point against UCLA. UCLA kind of gets a cakewalk game into this one. It's not going to be near as easy for them in this one. I lean toward laying the points with Alabama. It's getting awfully high. I hate laying 6.5 points. I think this one will keep going up. Like you said, I think 7 is more likely than it going back to 6. I don't have any strong opinion on this game. If I had to bet it, I'd bet Alabama, but we'll see if you guys have something stronger.
Raphael.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on this one. I probably won't bet Bama because the number is high, and just when we're talking DraftKings, it's to 7. So if I guess if you lose, you get a push, or you get your refund back because that's what DraftKings and FanDuel do. You just get refunds all day long. But yeah, it's just Alabama just hitting the 3 ball is if they hit, they dominate this game. If they struggle, then UCLA can hang around this game. But I want nothing to do with UCLA. They should have lost multiple times. They shouldn't have been here. And I still remember when they got booty whipped by Colorado last month. I think Alabama rolls in this one. But again, there's no value. I mean, this one opened up at 4.5. I think it was 4.5 for a blink of an eye. So it didn't last that long. So if you got 5.5, hats off to you. You did some really good work because I think this one's a solid 7.5. By tip-off, especially if it's a 6:15 tip-off. You're going to have all afternoon so people can tease them and parlay Bama all day long. This one's going to be a big number. And I've been telling people, I've been to Gonzaga, Baylor, always who's going to win a championship, but it would not shock me if Alabama was cutting down the nets and winning off. Because, again, if they're hot in threes, there's no one, even Gonzaga won't be able to compete shooting a 3 ball with Alabama. If they're hitting, I can't believe we can see them cut down the nets and maybe could take down the goalposts again.
Yeah, right. That was very true. What's scary about this is we trust a lot of the metric sites. Bart Torvik has this at 3.6 point spread, and Ken Pom has it at 4. And this is just it's came out inflated because why is UCLA so high right now? And that's what scares me a little bit about laying this bigger number. And I did get a better number; it wasn't that much better, but I'll tell you this gets up there. I could always buy back, and you can also use Alabama in your money line parlay. If you can throw them with Loyola or something, right? You get almost even, like -125 or something, if you did something like that. So another idea for this
or
one.
Check the live betting. Let's say if UCLA comes out hot and they may say Bama's down by like 5 or 6, maybe the first or second time out. Check the live betting. You can probably get a lot better number than 6.5 or 7.
Yeah, absolutely. Live betting situation for sure. And obviously us cappers can only tell you to do that. We can't either put one up for sale or send one to premium subscribers during a game. It's very difficult. We can sometimes just tweet out, hey, this is not a bad live betting situation. So be following us on Twitter and be watching for that kind of thing, because Kyle does it. Raphael does it as well. We'll definitely give us, if we find some value, we sometimes tweet it out. So
I only win on Twitter. I only win on Twitter.
Well, gambling Twitter, as Raphael always says, is never loses. That's what Raphael loves to say. Well, awesome stuff, guys. Raphael, do you have any of the Saturday games that you might like or that you want to throw out there?
Yeah, Saturday's games, let's face it, Sunday's games are much better than Saturday's games. And I'm kind of glad because there's so much stuff going on Saturday. You got UFC 260. You got a heavyweight boxing over in the pond in England. So it's so much stuff. I got the Florida Derby on Saturday. So I'm kind of glad that Saturday's game, I'm like, yeah, Baylor should probably have no problem. I'm always rooting for Oral Roberts just because of the name, and I got a T-shirt coming my way anyway, so I'm going to be rooting for them. But the best game, I think, is going to be Syracuse and Houston. And I'm sorry. So I don't know what Syracuse does during the tournament, but they're always a hard out. They could have the worst team that the Big East ever brought, and they're always winning and covering games during the NCAA tournament. So that's the only one that I'm actually really rooting for. I'm glad it's the late game. I think they can easily cover, and I would not be shocked if Syracuse upsets Houston.
I won't be shocked either. It's a tough one. And we've had a lot of back and forth on that one as well. So totally agree with you right there. Where could our listeners or our viewers get your great information, Raphael?
You can find me on Twitter at VSI.sports. You can find me on Instagram at Raphael Esparza. Follow my poll on Instagram, because right now, fade the poll. The public stinks right now. They've lost 6 straight. So just bet against the poll on that one. You can also find me on YouTube, and you can find me over at mybookie.ag. Just click on entertainment odds or just weird stuff, and most likely it came from my head.
All right, Kyle, where can our viewers find your information this weekend?
Yeah, you can go over to huntersportspicks.com. If you want to sign up for the free picks newsletter, you can do so from there. 105 and 72, the last 177 free plays sent out to that newsletter. Also, premium plays there from huntersportspicks.com. You can also follow me there at Kyle Hunter Picks on Twitter.
All right, make sure you check us out, the Odds Breakers. Not only do we give plays for our premium subscribers, but I myself will give out some free plays. Chris Farley's doing a fantastic job. Dominic's throwing out some winners as well. So check us out at theoddsbreakers.com. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of Better Odds Sports Betting. If you have any, like I said, questions, please feel free to tweet us. Have a great rest of your weekend and go get some winners.